Creative babble.
There are toys, and then there are freak-out-worthy toys. Toys that get big reactions like...
OMG, no way!
Or...
Best present ever!
Or...
It's what I've always wanted.
For those toys, you need Walmart. They've got exclusives from major brands like Disney, Barbie, and Adventure Force that you can't find anywhere else. Toys that make kids jump for joy.
Thank you, thank you!
And make you a hero for giving them. Shop hundreds of exclusive toys.
Yes!
Welcome to your Walmart.
All right, so I'm about to play part 2 of my new series called LaDonna's Surrogates. It's a spin-off of the Who's Afraid of LaDonna Humphrey series. Well, this series was supposed to be for Patreon and Pretend Plus only, but you guys wanted more LaDonna and I couldn't resist. So this is part 2, which is a continuation of part 1. So if you haven't listened to that, I'd start there first. It's about Dennis McCaslin. And without further ado, I'm going to play the episode.
Ah yes, the magnificent Trolley Sourbright Crawler, also known as Trollicus brightolus. The worm's captivating neon colour makes it an easy gummy prey.
Trolley!
It's a surprisingly sour, invitingly chewy, staggeringly snackable species unlike anything else found on this planet.
Eat me!
Delicious. Visit trolley.com to shop now.
Trolley, eat me!
Meet Darla Lackey. Darla is the executive director of the nonprofit called Pay It Forward Fort Smith.
It was just a matter of days before I started receiving racist text messages about the mayor of Fort Smith and his manhood and the color of his manhood, and messages about other nonprofit founders and calling them racist names.
Like she said, Darla received racist text messages, but it wasn't from LaDonna Humphrey. It was from Dennis McCaslin, one of LaDonna's most loyal surrogates.
He would call him a coon. He was insulting her. He was sending me messages saying that people on the north side of town deserve more watermelon than the people on the other sides of town.
In our previous episode with Anthony Christopher, we discussed how LaDonna Humphrey seemed to be using Dennis McCaslin's toxic blog to re-victimize the people she's accused of harassing. Dennis McCaslin, David McClam, these are LaDonna's people. Misery loves company, I guess. So how are Dennis McCaslin and Darla Lackey connected? Well, they met after Darla and the board of Pay It Forward Fort Smith recruited Dennis McCaslin to join their organization. Pay It Fort Smith is exactly what it sounds like. It is a group dedicated to giving back to the community. They have a Facebook group where local residents post when they're in need. One woman recently posted that her son's birthday is coming up and that she's looking for some clothes or toys. Another was looking for a queen-size mattress. Volunteers also lend their time and provide fresh fruit, vegetables, meats, and items to help those who are barely getting by. In 2019, Pay It Forward Fort Smith got wrapped up in some controversy. Darla Lackey was accused of embezzling money out of the organization. She was eventually cleared, but the organization needed some public relations help. So they asked Dennis McCaslin, a local blogger, to join the board.
I hadn't known Dennis, so I hadn't had time to investigate him or anything that he does. I didn't know his history, nothing. So bringing him on, Tammy just thought that would be a good idea. And in reality, it was a really bad idea.
A very, very bad idea. I don't think Darla and the board did their homework. Otherwise, they would have seen that Dennis McCaslin's tabloid blog was mostly posting mugshots of probably some of the very same people that Darla and her volunteers were trying to help. I'm talking about dozens of mugshots a day. I get it, mugshots are public domain, but you would think that the man behind the blog would have a squeaky clean record. And we'll get to that in a second. But first, let's get back to when Dennis started at Pay It Forward Fort Smith. Let's just say that there was no honeymoon period. Darla says that she immediately felt uncomfortable with Dennis. So you bring this guy on, right? And you say that little by little, he starts creeping everybody out. He's peeing with the door open.
All these things started to build up. I started going to the board because it was very upsetting to me that I was having to swallow everything simply because I didn't want to make a fuss and cause more problems. He was being very touchy. He became very feely. He became very verbal. He became very fluent in using the restroom and leaving the door open. He did numerous things, and I kept going to the board, and I'm like, we have to do something. His antics became just outrageous.
Tell me about the touching.
It was very uncomfortable because I already have been diagnosed with PTSD.
If it's uncomfortable, we don't need to talk about it.
No, talking about it is actually more therapeutic.
Because I think people could interpret it different ways. Like, is he like touching your shoulder, or is he...
It started out, the simple, I'm putting, at the counter at the nonprofit, I'm putting groceries in the bag and him standing behind me for a couple seconds. Or I would be trying to load something up in the truck. So we had to climb up in the truck and load them up and down to the people below and unload the trucks. So sometimes I couldn't get in. I'm kind of short. So sometimes I couldn't get in. And he would just take it upon himself to grab me from behind and boost me using his hands on my booty and push me up. Sometimes I would be trying to stand at the tailgate facing the person in the truck that was handing me things and then turn around and give them to him. He would just be standing so close to me and everything. He would just reach out and touch my boob, like grab my boob. There's so many different things that he used to do. He used to say horrible things that I make him hard or that other women make him hard.
And he would say that to you, to your face?
Oh, absolutely. And he would say things like $20 make you how do you say that? $20 make you holler. Yeah, that one was the one that, and sometimes the women, the volunteers would laugh, but I don't think they were laughing out of, oh, that's funny. I think they're laughing out of embarrassment.
Yeah.
It's pure embarrassment. And at some point, he brought in LaDonna Humphrey. And while she was on the board, we could tell that there was more than just a light friendship between him and LaDonna. It was very strong.
LaDonna Humphrey served as the Director of Community Relations. Because the series is about LaDonna, I think people are going to be curious about her involvement. Like, what was it like having her on the board? Did you experience any of the stuff that everybody's talking about?
Oh, absolutely. I experienced stuff while she was on the board, and even after she left, I started getting emails from her and her friends. I got some hateful emails. She was calling me names, calling me a thief, calling me a liar. She just went off on me. And then finally I blocked LaDonna's email and the email that kept sending those. I could tell she was something wrong with her because she would just block one email. She would make a new email.
Darla told me that she filed multiple police reports on LaDonna and Dennis McCaslin, but in the end, these reports went nowhere. Regardless of whether what Darla is telling me is true or not, LaDonna Humphrey is incapable of having a normal experience at a job or any organization she's been a part of. I asked Darla to describe the first time she realized that LaDonna Humphrey was not someone she could trust.
Well, LaDonna was sent to pick up donations in Gentry or to get our snacks for the children for school for our giveaways and food giveaways. We didn't receive them. I'm in Fort Smith. LaDonna's up towards Gentry where she lives. Dennis thought it would be a good idea for LaDonna to pick up the donation and bring it down to us at the nonprofit.
Here's a voice memo of LaDonna talking about making a trip to the Little Debbie factory.
We had that big event on Saturday, so I had to drive out to this town. It's out past my house. It's called Gentry because that's where this Little Debbie factory is. And they had donated thousands and thousands of Little Debbie snack cakes and donuts that are in these cases. So I've been loading that shit in Danny's truck for the past 15 minutes. And I'm just like, my God, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to do true crime. I don't want to load snack cakes in the back of my truck.
But Darla says that those Little Debbie snacks never arrived.
I set it all up and we never saw it. It was picked up and we never saw it. I went to Dennis with it. I said, hey, where's this donation? It'll be here. I went to Dennis again. It'll be here. Again, it'll be here. And then finally, about the fourth or fifth time, I'm reaching out and I'm saying, hey, I need this donation. And I'm getting cussed out. And we could have done without LaDonna. She was no help to us. She was a source of misery. I mean, she stole our donations from Gentry, ho-hos and cupcakes. To everybody else, that's simple stuff. But to us, it was the difference of a child having a snack and something to munch on when they needed something after school, because we didn't have a lot.
Darla says that she was fed up with Dennis McCaslin and his friends.
I had finally had enough because the touchy-feely stuff was just so uncomfortable, and nobody was listening to me. It felt really odd to be a woman who's telling the truth, have other women see what he's doing to me, and nobody is listening. So I started using my voice with him. I started telling him, I want you off the board. I can't stand this. You got to go. And I went against everything that he had threatened to do. I didn't even care anymore about his threats to ruin me, kill me, take me down, F me up if I ever told or went against him. I didn't care anymore. So I started standing up to him. And it just got really terrible. I had no voice. Basically, it was just my voice against a man who's built a reputation in the community for being media. So, of course, I'm going against this brick wall. And it was really hard. And he just kept going and going while he was on the board and finally left.
Did the board believe you, though?
Yeah, the board believed me. But at the end of the day, they were just as terrified as I was of what he was going to do to the nonprofit.
Darla told me that Dennis McCaslin amped up his harassment after he was forced to leave the board.
So he sends me messages like that. Well, he says that he doesn't, but there's a 99.99% chance it's him sending them, because what I'm receiving in those messages are all things that he's personally said to me behind closed doors. Those are all things that after I receive those messages, he will turn around and post on his Facebook ad-wise. For instance, the rape with banana email that I received. It wasn't even an hour after that email ad was posted on his page about bananas. Email I received about my grandmother. And then next thing you know, on his page, he's running elderly abuse ads. Everything that I received in those messages and emails is automatically posted on his page as an ad or an article. And it's hard not to put the puzzle together when you understand how puzzles work. The things that he's done to me, no woman should have to live with without any repercussions for the person that does them. I was never able to stand up for myself. I was constantly attacked for telling. And that's exactly what happened. I told, I got him removed. We moved forward. He was angry and he just started attacking me. Everybody knows he's never going to stop. I have mixed grandchildren. And he would say things like, you wouldn't have mixed grandbabies if you got with a good old boy like me. You're nuts, but I would eat it. He said so much nasty things. He would say, like, he always talked about blowjobs. He talked about women's booties, what sizes they were. He would talk about women shouldn't bend over like that if they had any respect for themselves, because women have to pick things up off the ground and load things into bags or boxes or trucks or unload. It was just very odd. One in particular came forward and said that at the Van Buren Housing Center in Van Buren, Arkansas, when he worked there, and this girl was 12 years old, she told her parents. And the parents told Van Buren housing directors, they looked at Dennis's computer and they found a lot of porno on it that had spread to the other computers. So he was fired. So when she told me that story, I investigated it and I found that that story was true. I became friends with the woman who took his job, and she's still on my friends list today. And she admits that's exactly what happened, why she got his job. His stuff with acting creepy started a long time ago. He's been creepy for quite some time, according to people that post on Facebook and say, I knew him when I was a child. and he was creepy then. So it just doesn't come out of nowhere.
I'm looking at his Twitter profile, and there's a tweet that he says...
He speaks very homophobic and very, very racist on his ex and stuff. Yeah.
Somebody tweeted about Donald Trump denying women safe abortions, and his response was, "Your mom does swallow. That's why I paid her extra." This is coming from a guy who's been arrested for prostitution.
With Uber Reserve, good things come to those who plan ahead. Family vacay? Reserve your ride as soon as you book your flights. To all the planners, now you can reserve your Uber ride up to 90 days in advance. See Uber app for details.
In the time it takes us to say we're making a damn delicious caramel iced coffee with Folgers Instant Coffee, you know we're all about that drizzle. You could be savoring every sip. Damn right. It's Folgers Instant.
Dennis McCaslin posts constantly about people getting in trouble for prostitution. But isn't it kind of ironic that he too has been busted for soliciting a prostitute? And yet I don't see his mugshot listed anywhere on his website. On October 5th, 2006, shortly after 8 p.m., an undercover cop posing as a sex worker was standing on a sidewalk when Dennis McCaslin spotted her. According to the police report, McCaslin circled his truck several times, each time making direct eye contact with the undercover cop. He circled around once again and pulled into an alley and turned off his headlights. McCaslin rolled down his window and asked, "How's it going tonight, officer?" She asked him what was up with that officer comment, and he said he just wanted to make sure that she wasn't a cop. She then asked him if he was a cop, and he said no. She then asked if he was looking for a good time. Dennis McCaslin said, "Always." She asked him what he wanted, and he responded, "Oh, I know what I'm looking for." She said, "Do you want some of this, or do you want some of that?" gesturing at different parts of her body. He said, "Some head." She told him it was going to cost him $20. They started walking towards the motel room, and that's when the undercover officers appeared out of nowhere and arrested him. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone.
I mean, we're going on since 2021, and it's now 2024.
And it's still happening today?
It has not stopped. It has slowed down since I received my protection order against him.
Wow.
But it has not fully stopped. In fact, after my protection order, I still received 2 more emails. He started running a series of my photos, 2 at a time, on his ads. I would go eat at a restaurant around the corner from my home because I live in a small country town. On the other side of Arkansas, I live up in Oklahoma. And I would go into this restaurant and take photos of, oh, I enjoyed this food, because I like blogging food, especially if it's good.
Right.
The next day, he's at that restaurant running photos of him blogging the food at that restaurant.
So it's like he's enjoying following you.
Yeah, exactly. You see those ads about the teddy bear that he puts in the mug shots? That's about my dog. My dog Bear died this last February. We don't have to go all into that, but he was poisoned. Before I ever made that public, those teddy bear ads and those abuse of animal ads started being dropped by Dennis. And then you see those elderly abuse ads. Mm-hmm. Those are pertaining to my mama because when he started attacking me, my mom couldn't even take walks anymore after her hip surgery. And then if you'll see those mug shots that are pink with all the pictures of the funny-faced people who have criminal records.
Yeah.
Those 2 up in the one in the right corner and the one in the lower corner, those same pictures of different times, those are me.
Oh.
From like 20-something years ago.
This is deranged. So you're saying that ad for spotting the signs of elderly abuse, it's not a real ad?
He makes the ads.
That 1-800 number, if I called it, it's not...
Oh, that's a real place, I guess. I don't know. Okay. I've never called it. So he makes these ads and he strategically places them to come at me for what he's coming at me for.
So they're like little sick inside jokes, basically.
Basically, in his mind, they're jokes. I've had to move 6 times, maybe 7 at this point, because Dennis wouldn't stay away from my homes in Fort Smith, Arkansas. He would run photos or ads or posts of him next door to my house, or I'd make police reports because he was peering over fences into my backyard. I've had to move several times. I'm having to defend myself. while Chip's up there defending this man who is guilty of everything that I say. It's cost me quite a bit. It's probably cost me $20,000 just in moving expenses, losing money within the nonprofit, everything. People have gone hungry. It's cost me my sanity.
If these accusations are true, this is truly disturbing behavior. So is the fact that these pro-LaDonna articles keep ending up in this man's blog. If it's true that LaDonna is leveraging McCaslin's platform to prop up interest for her projects or for the people that hate her or for her enemies, why would she pick his blog and not create her own shadow blog?
But it's pretty clear that when you go on that tabloid blog, you see all her stuff, everything she's interested in, either stuff that she wants to promote or people that she wants to tear down. He's happy to write about it. A lot of these fake pseudonyms are happy to write articles about whatever she's interested in. So
absolutely. It's so telling what they're doing. I mean, if you know the situation and you're paying attention, it is so obvious what they're doing. And he has to get this information from somewhere. And the way he's been described to me by several psychologists and victims advocates and lawyers and police officers to boot is that he's not smart. He's manipulative and sneaky. That's how they describe him. They also talk about his obsession and how that makes him dangerous. So at the end of the day, you have to look at the stories and how they're written. How would he possibly know these things unless someone is feeding him the information or that someone is writing that themselves? Like, for instance, this house fire one. He had the postcard on there. So you have to understand that he didn't have that postcard. That is something LaDonna had. You can tell by the way it's written in the story, there's less misspellings. Once you started your podcast, his writing style has changed. Spellings have changed. Who he speaks about has changed. His ads have changed. Everything has switched up to represent what you're doing and going through with LaDonna.
You're saying that when you suspect that she's writing for him, there's less grammar
errors,
mistakes?
Yeah.
And so when he's writing, you could tell his writing style because there's a lot of errors?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's true. I'm no grammar Nazi. In fact, I'm prone to misspelling and typos and pressing send before I proofread things. But wow, this guy must have disabled his autocorrect. One headline about me states, quote, bizarre antics of a podcaster calls credibility into question, unquote. He spelled credibility, C-R-E-D-A-bility, credibility. Maybe that's just the way he speaks.
It's very clear how it's changed up since you started the LaDonna Humphrey. So they can't say they're not friends because people who aren't friends don't help each other like that.
I asked LaDonna Humphrey about this during my interview with her back in June.
Hey, one thing that I thought was really weird with this whole dispute with Anthony was this publication, the publication by Dennis McCaslin. He has a lot of articles. It's like an overwhelming amount of articles against Anthony Christopher. Why would he want to publish?
You would have to talk to him. He's asked, I know him, I know of him, I know him actually. And he's asked me to participate in those and I've always declined. So my attorney has told me not to get involved with it.
Okay, so you know him, but you haven't been working through him to publish these articles?
No, absolutely not. I don't want anything to do with those. He asks me for comment and I don't give him a comment. I don't know that he's published anything recently. I haven't seen anything or heard anything, so.
But you got to understand that they're two peas in a pod, Javier, but I do think you understand that.
Oh, totally. Everyone that surrounds himself with that woman is
well, people need to understand that they haven't been friends for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. They've been friends for over 10 years. So for her to try to distance herself from Dennis, I call that bull because she only tried to distance himself because I don't know why anybody, I mean, I know why some people would distance themselves, but.
I know why she's distancing herself. It's pretty obvious because Anthony Christopher has a permanent restraining order against her.
Oh, yeah. And she's writing on his page. Yeah, that makes sense.
She's using his platform to basically harass him and all the other victims. And if she distances herself from this dude, she is distancing herself from either violating that injunction or getting sued for defamation. But what she doesn't understand is that it's pretty transparent. I mean, the guy basically runs a blog posting mugshots of people that got arrested, or the other thing he writes about, things that LaDonna cares about. LaDonna's enemies, dirt on LaDonna's enemies, or LaDonna's projects, the Missy Witt.
Yeah.
The Missy Witt thing is one of the ads. Oasis is being talked about all the time. Every little pet project she has is being talked about. Why the hell does Dennis McCaslin care about me, a podcaster in North Carolina?
Well, you had to be brought to his attention by somebody.
When I started this series on LaDonna, Dennis McCaslin took it upon himself to write me a nasty email. This guy is so tough that he added a self-destruct function to the email. Like I couldn't screenshot it and save it. I tried to ignore this guy because I don't want to give him a platform, but it became impossible to ignore. So recently, I gave him a call. Here's how it went.
Do you have a couple minutes?
I don't think I want to talk to you, man.
Why is that, man? Well, why not? You post a lot about it. I mean, I figured you had some strong opinions.
Oh, I got some strong opinions, all right. I don't like your tactics. I don't like your attitude. I don't like the fact that you're running with a story that you have absolutely no idea about the facts about.
What did I get wrong?
So,
what?
Well, first of all, no, I'm not going to talk to you because you're recording this, and I'm not going to be subjected to your bullshit. So,
but what are you so afraid of, man? You seem like a pretty, confident guy.
I have an attorney, and he tells me what I can and what I can't say. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of you. You're a little punk ass, is what you are.
You have an attorney. And, why did you do something wrong?
No. You just need, you need to lose this number and you need to kiss my ass.
So when the prostitute, and he hung up on me. Soon after that call, he posted a defamatory blog about me. And I'm sure he'll post another one after he listens to this episode. By the way, Dennis, thanks for supporting my Patreon. I seriously don't understand why LaDonna's cronies are so protective of her. And I often wonder why she picked these guys to be her mouthpiece. I mean, surely she cringes every time she reads one of these horrendous articles or listens to David McClam's god-awful rants. But maybe that's the point. She gets these guys riled up, spitting venom, so that it takes attention away from her. Darla Lackey says that she's grateful that someone is finally telling her story. She says that for a long time, it's been a one-way media smear campaign against her. And now she's leveling the playing field.
I am only one person trying to fight off these well-trained con artist grifters who are very manipulative and know how to abuse the system to make it work for them. That's what I've had to deal with.
Next time on LaDonna's Surrogates, we are going to turn our attention to another of LaDonna's surrogates, David McClam. Trust me, I also don't want to give this guy's name any more airtime than he deserves, but we need to set the record straight. Also, we'll finally answer the question, why did LaDonna Humphrey pick him to represent her side of the story? Of all people. That's next time. So that was part 2 of LaDonna's Surrogates. Part 3 and part 4 are available right now on Patreon and Pretend Plus on Apple Podcasts. If you're enjoying the show and you like what I'm doing, it would be awesome if you could support independent podcasting, even just for a month. So sign up for Patreon and Apple Podcasts. It's like buying me a cup of coffee, but in reality, you are paying for the editors, the producers, everybody who puts this show together. Thanks again. I appreciate it, and we'll be back next week with part 3 of LaDonna's Surrogates.
Creative Babble.